I'm Rohan Karamandi.
And I'm Phil Hawthorne, and we're the hosts of the Home Assistant podcast.
We're guessing you're into technology. Home Assistant is the #1 open source contributor project on GitHub with a focus on privacy and local control.
Join us every other week as we break down the latest features on Home Assistant and talk to everyday users who are automating their lives with Home Assistant.
From feeling like you're living in Star Trek with lights turning on in rooms when you walk in, to automating flushing the toilet, Home Assistant can integrate with virtually anything, and we've interviewed everyday people like yourselves that have done some pretty crazy automations.
Listen to the Home Assistant podcast wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts, or find us on YouTube, or visit homeassistant.fm.
We can build any environment in 3D. Send me a couple pictures of your house. We're going to build your house. We can put you there. So it's like people can share this experience in a place together in a pretty different way. While we were productizing it, I've been introduced to lots of people who say, hey, this guy Erik's got some pretty compelling technology. One of them was with Starbucks. We hosted the first meeting in Katmai, and we had built from scratch the first Starbucks in Pike Place Market in Seattle. And I remember when their team loaded in, they gave us this look of, what's going on here? Wait a minute, I recognize this. So he's got an interesting approach we can take in terms of not just trying to say, imagine you're in the first Starbucks, but it's, hold on, let me just send you a link and we'll just be there. My name is Erik Braund. I am the CEO and founder of Katmai.
This is Code Story, a podcast bringing you interviews with tech visionaries.
Spent 6 months moonlighting.
There's nothing on the back end.
Who share what it takes to change an industry.
I don't exactly know what to do
took
next.
many goes to get right.
Who built the teams that have their back.
A company is its people.
The teams help each other achieve
I was
more.
proud of our team.
Keeping scalability top of mind.
All that infrastructure was a
Yes,
pain.
we've been fighting it as we grow.
Total waste of time.
The stories you don't read in the headlines.
It's not an easy thing to achieve, mind
Took it
you.
off the shelf and dusted it off and tried it again.
To ride the ups and downs of the startup life.
You need to really want it. It's not just about technology.
All this and more on Code Story. I'm your host, Noah Labhart, and today how Erik Braund is fixing the brokenness of remote work, making it instant, seamless, and natural. This episode is sponsored by Speakeasy. Grow your API user adoption and improve engineering velocity with friction-free integration experiences. With Speakeasy's platform, you can now automatically generate SDKs in 10 languages and Terraform providers in minutes. Visit speakeasy.com/codestory and generate your first SDK for free. This message is sponsored by QA Wolf. QA Wolf gets engineering teams to 80% automated end-to-end test coverage and helps them ship 5 times faster by reducing QA cycles from hours to minutes. With over 100 5-star reviews on G2 and customer testimonials from SalesLoft, Drata, and AutoTrader, you're in good hands. Join the Wolfpack at QAWolf.com. Erik Braund was born and raised in Alaska. Growing up, he played competitive hockey and built computers for his dad's company, and eventually others. He grew up with a Game Boy, an electric guitar, and a love for Nirvana. He was internet obsessed from a young age, partially because it was the door to a bigger world outside of Alaska. He eventually upgraded his setup to build a recording studio. He played in bands, and his recording studio eventually turned into a production company in New York City and LA, delivering AV projects for numerous clients. Erik was running his production company when COVID hit. Given people weren't doing in-person projects, he started consulting and opening up his mind on how to do these types of gigs remotely. He started to see a new problem, where video conferencing was not solving the problems for high-connection, collaborative work. This is the creation story of Katmai.
So the company Katmai has created a technology that we call immersive video conferencing. We took years in stealth mode to try and perfect and optimize that technology. And then we've turned it into a product, which we call our virtual office, in the landscape now of virtual headquarters. And boy, how did I get started? Let's go back to January of 2020. We might have been reading an article that said, hey, I think some skiers in Italy were coming down with a cold or something at that time. Simultaneously, my production company, who was like, we were making videos for huge companies, small companies, everything in between. All of a sudden, my schedule was just like empty and nothing would confirm and everything felt real tenuous. and we started to go, hey, what can we do that's remote? And let's reimagine this. Fortunately, had recently invested a lot in video broadcast equipment because we were starting to get into live streaming. And we turned my music studio into a video broadcast studio pretty much overnight. Did I know anything about broadcasting video? Not really. I did find some people that knew, and fortunately, it was a nice relationship where they could be in Brooklyn broadcasting things, and I could be at my new home that barely had internet or electricity in the Catskill Mountains of New York. If the wind blows, the power went out. Let's just say that. There was a moment in time where a lot of people didn't know what Zoom was and had never fired up Teams. Video conferencing wasn't ubiquitous like it is now. But then I began to see a new problem emerging, which was, hey, video conferencing as we know it is like solid for scheduling a meeting in the future and having a couple people be on it that you have the foresight to invite. But the new problem I saw, because my business was so richly in person and like people being with people was the connective tissue of my entire previous 15 or 20 years of my life, like professionally. I was like, how do we do this a little more lifelike virtually? I actually stumbled upon a Twitter account one of my colleagues sent me, and it was in Dutch, had a handful of followers, and just had a link that was like, try this. And I clicked on it and I was like, oh, this is interesting. Long story short, it was a proof of concept that a developer had put together. And I sent a message to him. I was like, hey, what is this? This is pretty cool. Fast forward a handful of months, we had worked out a deal. He came on to work at this company that is now called Capgemini. And we have taken that proof of concept and iterated on it a ton together in the early days, brought a small team of people together, didn't meet for the first 2 years. I put together a team of about 10 of us. Most of them were strangers that I met on the internet, quite honestly, which is pretty crazy. And that was the foundation, truly.
Let's dive into that MVP. And maybe it's the proof of concept, or maybe it's further along. You tell me where you deemed it the MVP, right? But I'm curious about, that MVP, how long it took you to build and what sort of tools you're using to bring it to life.
I'd say early days, fully proof of concept in that if you left it open in your browser for 3 minutes, it might overheat your computer to where it turns off. I will never forget the first time I met one of my now board members. We fired up Capgemini on my laptop and his laptop across from each other in a big conference room. And not only did it brick his computer, it just turned everything black and off in a way that I was like, I think I owe him a new computer now. And thankfully, he's older and wiser than me, and was like, I've been doing hardware and software for quite a long time. I understand what a proof of concept means. We're here talking about the idea and the applicability beyond this. I remember the first time I saw the very first iteration of this thing working, it was like I saw the next 20 years of my life of what this could be. My background is audio, video, entrepreneurship, technology, just all of those things. And Capgemini is the convergence of all of those. And I saw this massive market opportunity if we could harness the tech, make it work really well, productize it, all of these things. And mind you, I've never run a tech startup before. I've never done investment before. We're at the very beginning of a pandemic. So trying to build a team, trying to get investors, trying to get lawyers, trying to do all this stuff. I remember there was a summer where we were working hard on optimizing. And it was like, okay, we know the fan kicks on. We know the CPU's heating up. We're downloading a 3D model. We're asking your computer to upload audio, upload video, download video, render, respect permissions, privacy. It's we're asking a ton of your computer. And there was no precedent for this, really. And we chose early on not to build this idea on the backs of a third party. So there's Obvious, there's Unreal, there's Unity, there's those things that sure, we could have done something like that, but we just chose not to because we wanted to control our own destiny and have more control over the tech and the product. To answer the question, what were the tools we were using from a hardware standpoint, right? I was testing kind of every device imaginable to figure out a baseline for, okay, what's our software do today? And what changes can we make behind the scenes to make it improve or make it perform better? Okay, what are the network challenges we're going to run into? Oh yeah, enterprise, that's interesting. They have locked down every port imaginable and nothing works. We were able to attain a couple of customers before we had a product. So I'd say we had a technology. The technology was interesting, compelling. We'd stand up individual stacks, not exactly cost effective, but proved out some early product market fit, early feedback. Truly, we're just building this thing in TypeScript. not a lot of tools going into it, except for on the 3D side. So this is interesting. So Katmai, because it's 3D, it's audio, it's video, it's networking. The same guy that sent me a link to this proof of concept on Twitter, I gave him an assignment. I was like, can you find me the best people in the world working in X, Y, and Z? High-grade 3D environments or something, or 3D graphics, or this, that, the other. And he sent me one link, and the guy just sent me a real standoffish reply of, I'm too busy. Sorry, leave me alone. The other guy, he actually thought I was from some secret government agency because when he looked up Katmai, he found the other Katmai that does like government contracting. So I was like, hey, I want to show you something, but you have to sign an NDA before I can show it to you. Long story short, that guy's Pete. And if you look up Pete on his IMDb, it's like when I met him, he was a visual effects supervisor on The Matrix 4. And he was like just maybe going to go be on the post-production side of that. And he's worked on Star Wars, and like his IMDb with 3D stuff and visual storytelling is so deep. And we bonded over video direction and what I would just call like movie magic. Like, how can you make the eye look one place and do something else the other place? How did VFX work before we had high quality 3D real life renderings? So a lot of those concepts helped us be creative in ways to optimize our environments and our experience for our users. And Pete today is our creative director, and he's much more than our creative director, but he leads that 3D part of our whole user journey as well.
This message is sponsored by SnapTrade. Link in user brokerage accounts and build world-class investing experiences with SnapTrade's unified brokerage API. With over $12 billion in connected assets and over 300,000 connected accounts, SnapTrade's API quality and developer experience are second to none. SnapTrade is SOC 2 certified and uses industry-leading security practices. Developers can use the company's official client SDKs to build investing experiences in minutes without the limitations of traditional aggregators. Get started for free today by visiting snaptrade.com/codestory.
I'm so pumped about my new offshore dev partner. I'm saving a ton, and they even signed an NDA. Wait, is that our financial statements on the internet?
My dev partner has great communication. They can acknowledge an issue or email message super fast after they run it through Google Translate, of course.
I have a call set up with my partner right now. Hey guys, are you there? Wait, did you just ghost me?
Ever been in these situations? Yeah, me too. That is, until I found Tekla. Tekla is world-class, nearshore talent for technology teams who demand the highest standards. The platform gives you access to over 50,000 vetted Latin America technology experts, including developers, designers, and IT professionals, all fluent in English and all in your time zone. In 7 days or less, you can have your tech expert hired through Tekla's fast, efficient hiring process, which helps you find and onboard top candidates. Get senior-level talent at competitive rates, often half the cost of hiring in the U.S., but aligned with U.S. work culture and time zones, making teamwork easy and productive. Hire the best tech experts today with Tekla. Learn more at tekla.io. That's TECLA.io. This episode is sponsored by Speakeasy. Whether you're growing the user adoption of your public API or streamlining internal development, SDKs can turn the chore of API integration into effortless implementation. Unburden your API users from guessing their way around your API while keeping your team focused on your product. Shorten the time to live integration and provide a delightful experience for your customers. With Speakeasy's platform, you can now automatically generate up-to-date, robust, idiomatic SDKs in 10 languages and Terraform providers in just a matter of minutes. SDKs are feature-rich with type safety, auto-retries, and pagination. Everything you need to give your API the developer experience it deserves. Deliver a premium API experience without the premium price tag. Visit speakeasy.com/codestory to get started and generate your first SDK for free. This episode is sponsored by Vanta. You're a startup founder. Finding product market fit is probably your number one priority. But to land bigger customers, you also need security compliance. And obtaining your SOC 2 or ISO 27001 certification can open those big doors. But they take time and energy pulling you away from building and shipping. And that's where Vanta comes in. Vanta is the all-in-one compliance solution helping startups like yours get audit ready and build a strong security foundation quickly and painlessly. How, you ask? Vanta automates the manual security tasks that slow you down, helping you streamline your audit. And the platform connects you with trusted experts to build your program, auditors to get you through audits quickly, and a marketplace for essentials like pen testing. So whether you're closing your first deal or gearing up for growth, Vanta makes compliance easy. Join over 8,000 companies, including many Y Combinator and Techstars startups who trust Vanta. For a limited time, get $1,000 off Vanta at vanta.com/codestory. That's VANTA.com/codestory. So, post MVP, post that version, I'm curious about roadmap. So how you have progressed the product from that point and matured it. And I think to wrap that in a box a little bit, what I'm looking for is how do you go about deciding what's the next most important thing to build or to address with Katmai?
That has sure evolved over time. Truly, for a couple of years, it was building technology and iterating on it to where the technology could work well. So where multiple people could log in, computers would be performative, and permissions would maintain what they were supposed to do. And we have these things called sound zones where you can cross a line and now you're in a new sound zone. And you can close a door and lock the door and now that sound zone is private. What was funny was, imagine the early days. I'm in upstate New York. You've got a guy in the Netherlands, a guy in Florida, a guy in Canada, someone in Alaska, someone in California. We're trying to figure out how to work on this technology. And the thing that made sense was, why don't we just spend some time together in a space? Like in one of these Katmai spaces. Oh, what about if we just made some sound zones? And what about if we put little desks on them? And what about if we made those little desks have screen shares? And what about if we had doors? And truly it was just we've just built ourselves an office to work in. Actually, this is pretty damn cool. We spent a while building the tech and then slowly just almost accidentally building the virtual office product because it was a way that we could work and it was easy. And then we started to get some validation and show it to some people. It was oh, this is interesting. And then we brought on a few companies that started paying us for it. And this is all while our website was non-existent. We're still in stealth mode at this point. So today, that's all very different. And at a certain point here, I raised money. We were able to say, okay, we want to finish off the technology, build our first product. And you can imagine the directions that I'm pulled in at this point of, oh, this is a consumer thing, or, oh, this is for events, or I should have parties, but you got to stay focused and say, we have a pretty compelling argument for a B2B product that's meant to A, bring fully remote companies together. B, there's an interesting angle here for hybrid companies as well. And C, what we now know today is there's also applications for in-office companies. The fully remote company needs something a little bit different than the hybrid company, who needs something a little bit different than the in-person company. We're learning the in-person back to office company is shaping up to be more of our enterprise customer. And the fully remote companies are shaping up to be more of our hey, you can go start a free trial and it's obvious to teach yourself how to use it. And maybe your company's 10 or 20 or 30 people. There's a faster path to adoption there. Now we have companies using it 8, 10, 12 hours a day. We have companies using it a couple times a week for chunks of hours. It's so awesome to be out of stealth mode, having conversations with customers, with users. So our roadmap now is user-driven. And we have to step back and say, okay, what are we focused on here? Winning some of these big enterprise things, driving instant maximum value, making the path to adoption quicker for smaller companies. Ultimately, we're doing both. We're constantly weighing trade-offs, but today, more than ever, it's so just user feedback driven. And it's so awesome to deliver stuff that people ask for. And when you find those early adopters, they're willing to put up with a few rough edges. We spent the better part of 2024 identifying all those rough edges, developing to say, hey, we need to have the smoothest path to adoption here. We don't want to only appeal to someone that's comfortable with gaming. And then we also learned that, this isn't just for people to come in and stay for the day. There's some people that just want to have meetings in here. They just like it. It's a better mousetrap. You can brand it. It's fun. It's updated. It's not 4 faces on Hollywood Squares or Brady Bunch. It feels more natural. And so we also outlined our roadmap quite a bit to say, hey, some people just want to have a meeting in here. Let's make that really easy. Our virtual office product rolled out a huge year-long update at the beginning of February of this year. And that's truly where we draw the line in the sand of version 1, Katmai's virtual office is out now. and that's February 2025. It was a long journey for us to get there. We didn't go with that move fast and break things mentality because it's a big idea. It's a concept that people either instantly get or they need to be spoon-fed a little bit. And we just wanted to say, in this sort of thing, you don't get a whole lot of second chances. So we wanted to optimize for positive user feedback, good first experience, good first impression.
You touched on this a little bit earlier, but I want to ask it kind of again. So how did you go about building your team? And I love the story about your now creative director, who's much more than a creative director. But I'm curious about, what you look for in those people to indicate that they're the winning horses to join you at Katmai.
I remember early on, I re-fired up my Facebook account that had been dormant, and I posted something like, do I know any software engineers that work in X, Y, and Z? And then I got one person with a little hand emoji waving and another person, me. Forgot about those two guys. I know them from a past life. One of them's still at Katmai today, and the other one spent a number of years at Katmai. And this is a pirate ship, and this company is being funded out of Erik's savings account. And then when that ran out, it was funded out of my checking account. And then when that ran out, it was like, coincidentally, it was time to go raise money. So from there, it was like, okay. And then I told you the story about Pete and Gerard, the gentleman in the Netherlands. When he was considering leaving his old post that he had been out for quite a number of years, I think he was hesitant because he's like, I think I'd miss people. We don't know when the pandemic's going to be over. This seems strange. I'd be kind of isolated. And I was like, I tell you what, why don't you spend 8 hours with me in the virtual office? I'll wake up early. You stay up a little late. And we'll be in this space together, and we can talk to each other throughout the day. I made a point to, I invited a 3D guy, a video guy, a photographer, an engineer, just all sorts of interesting people to come in and take a look at this thing, and then say hi to Gerard across the hall. And I remember by the end of the day, he was like, if you keep bringing people in here, I won't be able to get any work done. And that was one of the things that convinced him to, okay, I don't think I'll be lonely. I think we'll have plenty of access to people when I do this sort of thing. I basically recruited from my bench or my network of networks, right? That was the early days of, it was like friends or friends of friends. And I don't mean close personal friends. I just mean, hey, I've worked in audio and video and I've got a lot of reach from schools and a professional life and was able to put together a core team. Once we hit a point where we had some funding, I was able to engage proper kind of recruitment channels and these sorts of things. And I got to tell you, Noah, I have learned a million lessons and there's a million things I would do differently. But that all being said, today we have a really solid team. We have a really broad areas of expertise because, again, under the hood, there's so much going on to make this thing work.
This message is sponsored by QA Wolf. If slow QA processes bottleneck your software engineering team and you're releasing slower because of it, you need a solution. You need QA Wolf. QA Wolf gets engineering teams to 80% automated end-to-end test coverage and helps them ship 5 times faster by reducing QA cycles from hours to minutes. With over 100 5-star reviews on G2 and customer testimonials from SalesLoft, Drata, AutoTrader, and many more, you're in good hands. Ready to ship faster with fewer bugs? Join the Wolfpack at QAWolf.com to see if they can help you squash the QA bottleneck. This message is sponsored by SnapTrade. Link in-user brokerage accounts and build world-class investing experiences with SnapTrade's unified brokerage API. With over $12 billion in connected assets and over 300,000 connected accounts, SnapTrade's API quality and developer experience are second to none. SnapTrade is SOC 2 certified and uses industry-leading security practices. Developers can use the company's official client SDKs to build investing experiences in minutes without the limitations of traditional aggregators. Get started for free today by visiting snaptrade.com/codestory. Let's flip to scalability. This will be interesting given some of the stories you were talking about earlier around bricking computers and then the type of, just in general, the type of product that you've built and how it's interconnected across the interwebs. Tell me about where scalability has reared its ugly head and have there been interesting areas where you've had to fight it as you've grown?
Knock on wood, it hasn't been too ugly yet. While we were productizing it, I've been introduced to lots of people who say, hey, this guy Erik's got some pretty compelling technology, right? And here's how it may apply towards your business someday. One of them was with Starbucks. And one of the cool things we can do is we could build any environment in 3D. Send me a couple pictures of your house. We're going to build your house. Like, it's pretty wild. We can put you there. So it's like people can share this experience in a place together in a pretty different way. We hosted the first meeting in Katmai, and we had built from scratch the first Starbucks location in Pike Place Market in Seattle. And I remember when their team loaded in, they gave us this look of, what's going on here? Who are you people and what is this? Wait a minute, I recognize this. Not just trying to say, all right, Noah, imagine you're in the first Starbucks environment with me virtually, but it's, hold on, let me just send you a link and we'll just be there. So we do have that working in our favor. We built Starbucks's Empire State Building Reserve Cafe. We hosted a birthday party for the metaverse. If memory serves, these are in like the 6-digit number of people type of interactions, let's say. And for us, that was okay, we're going to be scaling up. That was from thousands or tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands, let's say. That grew, and we actually got the opportunity to do a much larger launch with them. Fast forward a bit of time, they wanted to take some of the things we had built and launch it to the loyalty program, which I think the published number online is over 30 million people are in the Starbucks loyalty program in North America. As you can imagine, sitting in my chair, you're like, okay, how long do we have? 7 weeks. Okay. And we're going to go have a team meeting and we'll get back to you. So I'm just happy to say we have a very strong ethos of we're not going to say we can do it unless we know we can do it. And we all agree we're going to do it. And we had our go, no-go meeting, and it was goes all the way around the table. And we hustled, and we had to grow up very quickly too, because we had to, there's anti-phishing, fraud detection, all sorts of stuff that goes on there, and more pen tests and all of that fun stuff, all the ramp up, scale up, fingerprinting, make sure someone doesn't come twice to get a coupon code twice. Oh, by the way, we're going to be holding lots of value of coupons. But I'm happy to say we were able to scale to millions of people successfully. Where the kind of holy moly moment comes from there, I remember it was do we have an estimate of how many of these are going to be on mobile? Lots of it. Okay. Because it's one thing to assume a processor and computer and sort of things like a baseline for a laptop. It's another to assume that on a cell connection to a mobile device. And there's a lot of mobile devices out there. We had to basically figure out how to compress these rich 3D environments and these networked experiences to represent a global brand and not get egg on our face. And we have to look good and they have to look good. And that was just a massive moment of growth for us. And now that's turned into, we have a separate product that we don't really market so much because it's a much different sales pipeline, but we call it loyalty experiences. And so global brands are still looking for new ways to engage their consumers. And we can build some pretty compelling and interesting consumer experiences for those brands. And Starbucks was our larger foray into that. And now we have a number of things in our pipeline for different experiences. So our scale really was driven by an opportunity. And you never know when that sort of opportunity knocks. We chose to meet it. And I'm very thankful that we were able to do many projects with them. And every single one of them was bigger than the last.
So as you step out on the balcony, you look across all that you've built thus far with Katmai, what are you most proud of?
I am most proud of the fact that we have built really compelling technology, turned it into a product that has truly transformed the way that companies and people work and interact, and that we've done it ourselves too, and that I've never had an office lease for Katmai, never going to have an office lease for Katmai as long as I can avoid it. We've built culture and relationships inside of our company, and now we're at the point where we have customers who have told us the same, and that is so incredibly rewarding. I just can't even tell you. Obviously, I love seeing someone signed up for a trial. Someone has converted to a paid customer. Oh, amazing. But when those paid companies, when our customers hire someone new, and then they add their Katmai seat, and then they start using it, and then they hire someone else, and they add another Katmai seat, that's where I love it. I love it so much.
Let's flip the script a little bit. Tell me about a mistake you made and how you and your team responded to it.
It's so interesting. You can document the hell out of everything, and you can stress test the hell out of everything, and you can have 10 people look at the same thing and everyone says we're good, right? And then you can forget something really simple. And then, oops, that affected users. Uh-oh. And then you come together and figure out how to undo it. Here's an example. When you're in ramp-up mode and you're meeting some opportunities like an enterprise consumer sort of thing we just discussed, but you also have this core product you're building, you can start racking up like hefty AWS bills, right? You can imagine. And, you got to stand up a specific stack for this company, and you've got to have more QA stacks and more developer stacks and like stacks on stacks on stacks. At a certain point, I'm like looking at our credit card statement saying, oh boy, AWS, how do we bring that one down? I have a great DevOps team, and we start planning migrations and how are we going to do this? And okay, there's economy of scale that we can do here if we want to invest the time. And you're constantly making that trade-off of invest in things for the users or invest in things for us, right? And this was a moment of we need to invest in some things for us so we can bring some things down. Katmai uses WebRTC audio and video communications, and we use turn servers sometimes for when you're not sure exactly how the customer is going to be connecting with us, right? So we want to have some variables available, some various options available. And we forgot to migrate our turn servers when we did all of this and had a day where we got a lot of emails that nobody could connect. Now, we stood things up very quickly. We rolled back, we fixed, we stood up, all of those things, right? We've had a couple war room situations in Katmai. I'm not going to lie, just like every other startup here where you're like, holy cow, we thought we accounted for everything. We didn't account for that. That's just part of best practices and making sure everything's written down. And if it's not written down, it doesn't exist. Here's another one. We recently introduced in-meeting chat. Previously, Katmai had chat where you could broadcast to everyone or send a DM, but you couldn't send messages to multiple people, and you couldn't send messages to all the people you were in a meeting with at this time. So we rolled out this new thing that's in-meeting chat. You could share files. It was like much more robust. And we temporarily took away the old chat because we did a survey of users, and most people wrote back, yeah, we don't really use it that much. The second we took it away, we got so many angry emails that, why did you take away chat? And it wasn't as simple as Command Z, let's put chat back. It's software development. We got to go through our process. We got to make sure we're not breaking anything by reintroducing it. And then we sent actually, I just looked at the copy of our cheeky email today that's going to go out to users that, sorry about that, you can have chat back now.
I'm really curious about the future for Katmai. What is the future, for the product, for the team, and where you're going to take all of this?
Right now, with our virtual office that you can just go see at our website, which is katmaitech.com, KATMAITECH.com. What you see there is years of dedication trying to say, how can we have really effective co-presence in a light and natural way? With that product, you're going to see more gamification, more customization, more integrations with other tools. We wanted to get the kind of platform up and running very smooth, make it easy to use. We want someone, again, who's not a native gamer to not be intimidated by gaming. If you can go use Google Street View, like you can use Katmai. If you grew up playing Doom or Quake 3, like you can really use Katmai, right? There's no railguns yet, though, in Katmai. But we're seeing different ways of adoption for fully remote companies, hybrid companies, and enterprise companies. We're bringing on a couple large enterprise companies right now. They're back in office. Like they're literally in the headlines that they're back in office. But they still have distributed teams. And some of the traditional tools that are out there, again, are great for a meeting with 3 individuals for a 30-minute window in 2 weeks, right? That's how a lot of companies operate. Okay, we got to find time for these. But we're building some kind of more inclusive, dynamic tools for Katmai that appeal to the larger enterprise, where we may not expect a 1,000-person company to say, we're getting rid of the 1,000-person office infrastructure and we're moving to a virtual office in 30 days. No, there's still the need to have more kind of hyper-customized, specific branded experiences. And so we're thinking about the future of work. The future of work is people have been given flexibility. People have moved out of metropolitan areas. People have changed their lives entirely. And the economy is still moving and jobs are still getting done. And we're trying not to measure it against how has the last 5 years gone with the tools the off-the-shelf tools that everyone's used to. We're trying to look at what could shape the next 15 years of how work happens. In the early days of Katmai, you had Meta saying, we're going to put $20 billion and put a headset on everyone and you can make your own avatar. And I remember Jim Cramer from Mad Money put one on and made himself like super buff and young or something. And I rejected that whole notion really early on because I found it rather dystopian. And I think relationships can be built virtually. Like, we think in person is the best. I love in person. For a guy talking to you about his video conferencing company, I wish that you and I could sit down and have a coffee together, right? Like, I'd prefer that. And the other end of the spectrum is what we call traditional video conferencing. This is your Zoom and your Teams and your Google Meet, and they're great tools for the thing that they do. And we're trying to occupy the space between it and reimagine what that whole thing can be. So we're going to keep focusing on what our users are asking for, and then more broadly think about how do we help reshape just the notion of remote work, where you have big CEOs saying, it didn't work, it's a failed experiment, come back to the office. I still don't buy it. I just don't buy it, personally.
Let's switch to you. Who influences the way that you work, Erik? Name a person or many persons or something you look up to and why.
This is going to sound sentimental, but it's my dad. My father is an anthropologist. He's very studious. He's the most detail-oriented man I've ever met in my life. Probably to a fault. As a child, you really couldn't get one past my dad. But he shaped my attention to detail, my understanding of finance. We often joke, but it's like the dinner time conversation is about your tax return and did you write off the right things? And like, from an early age, there was a lot of attention on business, running your own business. My father runs his own business. I had my own business. My brother has his. My grandfather had his. Having traditional job working for someone was never really gonna happen for us. And so I was given the gift of a lot of kind of can-do attitude and self-confidence growing up around that. And still to this day, he's one of my closest partners and confidants and resources and sounding board and all of those things. As sentimental as it may sound, my dad is someone I really look up to in terms of work and work ethic. One of the things we laugh about is this venture that I'm on, this adventure that I'm on, having this like massive global potential and international customers and just all of the things that come with it seems so like insane. From Anchorage, Alaska, we commercial fish and we play hockey, but it makes sense given that my childhood was all about working and then creativity and technology and computers and like always wanting to do something bigger and bigger. And so when you go and say, oh, yeah, we've created immersive video conferencing and we want to uproot the commercial real estate landscape and we want to compete with Microsoft and Lord knows who else, it's not really a surprise that Erik would take that risk.
Okay, Erik, last question. So you're getting on a plane and you're sitting next to a young entrepreneur who's built the next big thing. They're jazzed about it. They can't wait to show it off to the world and can't wait to show it off to you right there on the plane. What advice do you give that person, having gone down this road a bit?
First advice, don't accidentally spill something on their lap. I accidentally spilled something on someone's lap about a month ago at 8 a.m. I thought my life was about to be over. My life flashed before my eyes. I took the next 2 hours to become friends with him. We stay in touch. And when we landed, I logged into the Capmai virtual office and showed him around a little bit. I truly did that. And then he said, I know some investors, send me a deck. And we've stayed in touch. I go back to my undergrad program at NYU pretty often, and I'll give a talk or a tutorial on some music-related things. But the thing I always say is, like, look around the room of everyone that's here. Don't burn a bridge, because the world is so small, and you never know where someone's going to end up. And I really, practice that. So this is less about you've got a technology, what's the best next move you can make. But I just, from a philosophical standpoint, probably to a fault, I try to never burn a bridge or close a door or permanently close a door. I'm a funny one to ask for advice because I don't really do anything typically. I think it's Dan, the chief product officer I was telling you about. He was like, everything you've done to date is upside down and backwards of how a technology startup is supposed to go. But it seems to be working for you. How about this? I know that I do not have all of the answers. And I try to act very democratically. I have surrounded myself with a lot of smart people. Make sure you surround yourself with smart people that you can learn from. I'd say hire people that you would want to work for also. And I would say if you don't think it's the right fit, you should move on way faster than I have sometimes.
All that is fantastic advice. Well, Erik, thank you for being on the show today. And thank you for telling the creation story of Capmai.
Noah, thank you so much for having me. It was great talking to you. I really appreciate it.
And this concludes another chapter of Code Story. Code Story is hosted and produced by Noah Labhart. Be sure to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or the podcasting app of your choice. And when you get a chance, leave us a review. Both things help us out tremendously. And thanks again for listening.